or anything like that?
I don't usually. Um, I've seen the Fireflies one. That's what the guy that I'm on a Tuesday morning um Bible study with. That's what they use to take notes.
Yeah, they're handy. They just sometimes they're so glitchy, but like you can get like now they have like an AI transcript where you can go ask it a question and it'll pull like we talked about da 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 throughout the call. Give me the timestamps from when we talked about it, and then it'll pull different clips so you don't have to sit there and rewatch an hour Zoom all the time. It's like it's tedious. But
Yeah.
all right, so you're my guinea pig here.
All
We've
right.
been working on this for a while, and it's fine, but just I'm gonna try to like I was telling you, I'm trying to go as deep as someone wants and then give like references or if someone wants to just like look at the presentation. So on the presentation there will be references to the deeper document. Um, so I kind of want to show you that deeper document and then get into the present like the PowerPoint, which is going to be like a high level summary with those micro references to if you want to dive deeper into what I was working on. Essentially, at a high level, what this is we are. It's no longer me and Omar. I've got some other guys that have more experience in SEO than I do, and it allows me to look at things differently when it's just what I know. Everything is top down, right? So if I can expand the big brain at the top, then the fulfillment gets better. Um, so that's where a lot of this is coming from. This isn't just from me. This is from like we've got a guy that teaches. He teaches goes on stages and teaches SEOs SEO. So it's like the teacher of the gurus. And typically by the time people get their hand on it on information, it's touched multiple levels, so you don't know what's cut out and what's not. So again, I'm prefacing this because the document I'm going to show you is a ton of information, and I don't want you to like get overwhelmed with it. But it's my theory is real estate investors tend to like to see some of the more technical stuff to an extent. So it's almost like, in math class in high school, you get the right work, but the teacher dock you points because you didn't show your work. Like, so it's almost like, how do you get there, right? I'm trying to show my work essentially. All right. With all that rambling,
Yeah. And I mean, so really briefly on that, you probably on next door.
this is the document that I'm
Uh,
working on. So see that it's 38 pages.
Yes.
And then you're going to get into the heading ones are going to be the three main sections. So we're going to have entity, um, diagnostics, and this is what I'm talking about, like formatting when I'm using different AI tools and stuff. It's all janky and it's not super clean yet, but that doesn't matter that much. And then drift. So essentially, what these three are, well, I'll just go bottom and top since I'm already here. The drift is trying to show the gap between what your company actually does and how search engines perceive your authority. And then each section reveals where signals are misaligned. So essentially, where it's drifted from what Google wants to see. This
Mm.
document is we've taken all of the information that we can get our hands on from Google. So I'm not standing here saying this is a complete right. Google will never show us everything, but this is as much as we can possibly get our hands on, updated as algorithms update. Um, the diagnostic models Google as a system of interacting classifiers rather than a checklist of SEO issues. Each section builds a complete picture. So again, former way of doing SEO was X amount of blog posts, X amount of backlinks, yada yada. And the deeper I get into it, the more I realize there's so much more than just do this, this, and this. Now that sells easier because I can sell you need to do this, and then this, and then this, and then do more of that. And then is that inherently wrong? It's not wrong. It's just extremely oversimplified.
Yes, sir. We spoke with the caller of mine yesterday about possibly selling it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I was.
Yep.
Be clever, yeah.
Right.
And then the entity is a framework structured as a file tree. So think of it similar to like how files and folders are organized on your computer. And again, each section builds off the previous one. So if you want this, you can have it. And then we are going to break it down in this PowerPoint. So you'll see at the bottom, or sometimes, what was it? 5, 6 here. Like there's a quote. I was trying to tie all of the like direct quotes from reports, direct data from reports to the point in the report where you could say, I can take entity, trust validation, and temporal drift, and then look at the temporal drift resistance. And that's where the documents, that's where this information is pulled from within that document. So you'll see that throughout. Again, stuff like this. I was fidgeting with this and edit it poorly. So again, it's stuff like that that's like doesn't really matter, but it looks terrible. So forgive my ugly white boxes here. So again, one more high level thing just to hit on here. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to essentially show that the SEO strategy was oversimplified, and then show my work to how we've come to that conclusion, and then show the depth of what goes into it. So it's essentially I've been starting with saying it's like a strategy shift. It's not true. It's probably closer to a more complete truth is insight into the deeper strategy, if that makes sense. So it sort of is a shift in strategy, because if your strategy is, you know, on page SEO, blogs, backlinks, it's moving away from the simplicity of that to a deeper application. But it's not, again, not saying that that's wrong. Like you still need content, you still need links. Don't hear me saying you don't need content, you don't need links. That's never what I'm saying with all of this.
It's just a deeper version of it. Like
Yeah.
you need to build upon what you're already doing and go even farther.
Yes, sir. And a lot of this is like it starts in the foundation, and then in that strategy of having that deeper foundation that allows us to go in some different directions. Whereas in the past, I haven't gone in those directions. I've just said it's just this. Now I'm saying it's this, 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 this. All of that combined stems from that deeper strategy. So yeah, exactly. All right. So 4 findings that explain that drop off. We're talking authority, experience, freshness, geography are the 4 main issues that I saw from this report looking at the site. So the authority, a lot of internal content overlap. This is a strategy shift. What used to work with this the content strategy was go a mile wide and an inch deep. So you could have a bunch of different location pages with a bunch of similar content, have those keywords out there, send links to those pages, rank them, hold more positions in the top three.
Yeah, and that was like the very first thing I ever did was get
Yeah.
Keith Sant to build out something like for my Martin Legacy Holdings website back in the day, and he just did a ton of backlinks, and like he was a big on like opening as many location pages as possible. I was never a fan of that in general, like even back then, even when it was proven to work some back then, I still didn't like it. I just wasn't a fan of like trying to get leads any and everywhere as your strategy. So like when I moved over to this new guy, well, I went with nobody for a while, and then or actually that's when y'all took over my account for a while, and then nobody for a while, quite a while. And then with a new person, they were supposed to be deleting those location pages. What's interesting is I definitely know that some of them are still out there because, like, I'm going, oh, Jesus Christ, that actually reminds me. I got to tell my acquisition guy to confirm an appointment. We're actually going up to Ellijay, Georgia, which is like 4 hours away. And the only reason I'm okay with that is because my buddy's been looking for a mountain house up there, anyways. But
Yeah.
like apparently we still popped up as ranking like when they searched for cash home buyer in Ellijay, Georgia. And I'm just like, why?
Yeah. So that's some of these points kind of overlap. We're hitting authority and geography here. So the geography, Atlanta, Savannah, Athens, where Augusta's clearly the core. So part of what I'm saying aligns with what you just said, where it's like, hey, keep the main thing and bolster this. We don't need to waste resources or time or energy on these other just because that's what you're supposed to do. Okay, so the authority, multiple pages, targeting similar keywords, diluting domain authority, and it creates cannibalization risk. The experience from what we're seeing, yours was really interesting because you had a lot of what we want to see from like a local trust perspective, where it was like you and your brand and your company in that local area. So with that idea, that's where we're like, hey, if you cut out some of that geography, some of those others pages, you were already doing some of that stuff really well from certain components, and that being a local home buyer, a local member of the community, helping your neighbors. As we get deeper into the experience conversation, this is where again I'm showing you how my strategy has changed on some of this. I didn't see case studies, which are a way that we can create like unique data content classified as sales collateral, not expert resources. So when we're creating content, the more that Google has rolled out these EAT updates, the more what they want to see and what the rewarding has changed. Again, think an inch wide, a mile deep.
Yep.
So I want almost like content clusters where this is the main thing, and then we can put different things underneath that are sending love to that cluster. So cluster would be something like that. And then that's how you can still use content to help Google know that you are legit. Because if you just have the cluster and you don't have all of this, then Google's gonna be like, okay, they don't know what they're doing. So you do have to find that balance of we want to feed Google what Google wants, but then also it's much more focused on adding value to that customer. When you think about Google, what Google does, like their services, their customer is a searcher, and their service is to match their customer, the searcher, with the best possible results. To do that, we want to be much more customer centric than we had been in the past. Does that make sense? So that's where like a case study might be like, how does that help SEO? It adds value to the customer. Whether anyone is going to go through that case study, gonna, go through the lead magnet, whatever, that is perceived values from Google's perspective. And if they do go through it, it will help them. And when they do go through it, that's where your trust builds with them, where we're seeing more and more. For the longest time, a searcher would go get 10 different have 10 different cash buyers come out, and they just, who can give me the most money? One of our biggest clients told me the other day that 73% of the time he's not the lowest offer, or I'm sorry, he's not the highest offer, but he proves to them that he can solve their problem better than the other guy who's giving them 10,000 more or whatever, right? That is kind of what I'm talking about here with, like, again, case studies, lead magnets, stuff like that. Does that make sense?
The worst part about you finding that is the fact that I'm pretty sure my acquisition guy has sent the current SEO people 1 or 2 case studies.
Okay.
And they're not there, obviously. So
I love that you're seeing that, and
because they have talked to us about that, and they even sent us like a Google form thing for him to be able to send in case studies.
perfect. Yeah. That,
So they are already thinking that, at least. It just sounds like they aren't executing on it yet.
all of this
Good to know.
all of this is pulled off of that initial website because I had more data that I could pull from. The newest website was so thin that the report it didn't add as much depth. Like I didn't want to just like bash, so I just want to bash like a new creation. So I was trying, again, that was part of why it took so long. I was trying to balance both. But yeah, that's awesome that you're moving that direction. The freshness, oftentimes updating content is more beneficial than creating new content. So if you write something in 2025, updating it for what's relevant in 2026, so it's more of a content refresh versus like that content's still there and we add more content. So again, it's not content for the sake of content, but updating the content that has been created, which shows Google that somebody's touching it, it's updating, it's moving, it's reacting to the market today, not just leaving those previous pieces of content that served a purpose out there, but essentially it's not taking them off. It's just it's updating that piece that was already used, which helps with the freshness component. And then geography, we already hit that pretty good, so we can move along.
Yeah, and that also makes sense with you pulling it off the old one. Like, hopefully, not only will those case studies start getting put on the new site, but also with building the new site shouldn't be having all those extra location pages either.
Right. That should help.
Yeah, apparently, which also, this is a random thing, but you would be able to speak on this. I did notice not that long ago, just doing like quick like searches in the area, that it almost looked like Google had gone back. I mean, granted, how long it lasts and before they just penalize them, I don't know. But it did start looking again like people that were just coming up with a website like sell my house fast Augusta or whatever, like it wouldn't rank on the results popping up, but the map pack, like the top three in the map pack were those keyword stuffed sites again. And what's really funny that helped in my new branding is the SEO guy actually just sent me a screenshot over the weekend that we're already ranked like #1 for buy my house in North Augusta again now.
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess they are going back to like ranking that quickly somehow.
My relationship with time is weird sometimes. So don't hold me to this. The last 6 months or so, we've noticed that trend of where keyword stuffing in the GBP and the map pack has been working again, which it's like you said, it's going to work until it doesn't. So if
Yep.
you can stuff it into your brand name, that's kind of best of both worlds. I didn't expect it to ever work again because it used to work and then it didn't work and then now it does. And it's like at a certain point, it's not going to. Um, so I was surprised when that started working. Like I was really hesitant to take that data because I was like, this shouldn't, like, it doesn't make sense, but it's enough sustained data now that you are seeing that. But it's what you said, it's a quick win. Um, Now, hopefully, balancing the best of both worlds will help sustain that win, and it's not just a quick win for how you guys rebuilt that brand. I think that's wise um, to do both, especially with the flippy floppy on Google side. Okay, so reclassification, not a random drop. Um, Again, a little repetitive, which is what I don't love about this. But the primary suppressor was redundant, sales focused content, lack of unique experience based content. Recovery is contingent on passing a content quality threshold, not incremental fixes. So this isn't saying just go optimize your location page better. This is saying go to more of that content cluster strategy. Recovery is threshold based, minor tweaks. Well, I guess I just said that will not suffice. Fundamental content overhaul required. The site crosses suppression line, clearing it requires structural change, not tune-ups. So it sounds like you guys are doing some of that in the new website build. So I think this is kind of confirming what you were seeing and what you were thinking. Oftentimes, man, not to get well, you started this with mention of Bible study. You're a Christian. Oftentimes, like I'll get intuition on something's wrong or whatever, like this isn't, I should be doing it like this. And it's like, I used to be scared of the Holy Spirit and like now I'm not. And I'm not saying that it's not sometimes my flesh or my mind that is seeing that. So I'm still trying to discern like, hey, is this like God being like, hey, maybe we should go this direction? So I don't have that. I'm certainly not saying that I'm perfect at that or whatever, but like to me, that's what I hear when you're like, hey, I kind of, this is what we do and this is what I know. And you were convicted on that, but you listen to the SEO guy, which is wise to an extent, unless you know that you're right, even if you can't explain that you're right. But yeah, not to get into the spiritual stuff, but
Yeah,
that's kind of,
absolutely. I've learned a lot over the last couple of years, and it's very interesting because got really back into um, church, Bible, all of those things, and it's just kind of interesting how I just see it over and over again. And I even have a buddy of mine, well, on the flipping like houses that we buy and stuff, and he tells me all the time, he's like, dude, your gut's usually right. He's like there's no need to explain why you feel the way you feel on something. If you have a conviction on something, just follow it.
no, that's awesome. I mean, all these, I, I've been a Christian for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years now. So I spent a good bit of my life in the world and being a debaucherous piece of crap. One of the first deep things that I got into was like, I was looking at some Tony Robbins stuff before I encountered Christ, and I continued to look at some of his stuff on the other side. And one of the things that I saw over and over and over again is like, oh, he just ripped that from scripture. He just ripped that. This works because it's our creator, our father, God ordained, like set stuff up to work like that. And we can see those principles across, even if, because Tony, I don't think Tony proclaims to be a Christian, but he's teaching things out of out of biblical principles. And it's like, you are so smart. You ripped that from the highest selling book, like the creator of the universe, and put your name on it and made a bunch of money. Like, as it's your idea, but it's read Proverbs or Ecclesiastes or any of the wisdom literature. Like, it's all over the place. What we see, working in business, like there's nothing new under the sun, man. It's a form and function conversation. So like the form might change, the vehicle might change, the makeup might change, but that deeper, like those deeper principles, it's all the same.
Tell
And
people
so,
that all the time. Yeah, the best self development people are, you find the roots back in the Bible.
1000%.
Like always, every time I read a good self development book that I'm really, you know, feel it, and it'll be like, oh, that's why this makes sense.
And then that's where you trust that gut. Like I'll read stuff that I will not recommend to a lot of my Christian brothers because I'm tend to be similar to you. Like I can consume something, spit out the crap, take the good, and then see it in God's word or God's plan or whatever. Which I think that's awesome that you can do that as well. That you have that. All right. To respect your time, I want to keep going. When I start talking about faith and like God and stuff, like it's so quick for me just to take a left turn, and it's like because
it's tough not to, and yeah, I mean it's completely changed my life. Like before we moved, I mean, so I grew up Christian, but then I drifted off and did my whole 20s and early 30s doing whatever I wanted, drinking, partying, like not going to church, all of the above, and started going back about a year and a half ago, and almost 2 years ago. But then like the last year plus, like around the holidays of 24 would be when I started like fully like reading the Bible, going every week. And my life is completely different. And the underlying was already there, I guess, because of all my time from 5 years old to 18. Right? So like I think that's why I had those feelings there and already was on a like knew it, but to actually start living it completely changed my life.
praise God. That's awesome. I I was quick to throw stones at my parents while I was like early Christian, and then I realized that a lot of the things that they taught me while they weren't devout Christians and weren't active, like they Christian by name but not in life, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of those things that they taught me were good, godly, sound, morally right things. And then I decided to just go 180 and, spit in the face of everything and be awful. But yeah, when you actually get into that relationship with him and get in his word and get in community and all that stuff, like it's incredible.
Indeed.
All right, so now we're going to get into some evidence slides. Internal overlap equals authority split. So again, sell my house fast, we buy houses. FAQ about us, all targeting the same intent cluster, splitting authority signals. So this is where one of the strategy shifts that we've done, I'm leaning really, really, really heavy into FAQs, but they're like obscure, like weird real estate investing specific that would only apply to someone that was trying to sell their house. That doesn't focus on we buy houses, sell my house fast type keywords. And that's one of the ways that we're getting picked up in the LLMs right now. And that's one of the ways that we're building trust with Google is by having that depth without saying all of these are different pages. So then you create that messiness. I mean, if I can get somebody to give it to me, I think I'm asking for 69 FAQ videos where I can put it in text and then we tie it into YouTube and we put those videos on YouTube. Encourage people to put them on like Facebook, LinkedIn, stuff like that. And then through that multi-entity approach, that is how we're not creating as much content on a website, but more so blasting the content out across these different entities, which is then helping Google to see that, helping the LMs to see that, and these different perceived, the different authoritative sites that have perceived value to Google. And then what comes off of that is it's almost like it's an e-commerce style approach. What we'll see coming off of that is we're getting people that are not just at the bottom of the funnel, but we're getting people that are at the top and the middle of the funnel. And when your SEO strategy is only focused on the bottom of the funnel, that's why we had to shift, because that was my strategy. I used to say that, and I would pride myself on I'm only getting people at the bottom of the funnel. Now, by getting that different type of content up the top in the middle of the funnel, then we're getting in front of still local people that are in different areas, and Google seeing that as, hey, you're actually adding value to my customer, not just trying to convert my customer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it actually does.
Yeah. Let's see. So out of the report, high thematic overlap dilutes authority, keyword cannibalization between core pages, domain level dampening risk, and Google can't identify the canonical sell my house fast page. Again, if you want to go deeper into the show your work, you can look at that. Evidence too on the helpful content experience gap. What this tool that we're running classified the site as having was little unique information gain, describes the what, not the how. In the case study is going to help with the how. The videos that it's going to help with the how. So it's not saying get rid of the what. You obviously still need to have the CRO. You need to have all that stuff. That language dialed in to help that person, but we also need to help another person. Case studies, unique data, no unique data. It says content equals sales collateral, not expert resource. So we want to help them step over the finish line, but we also want that the expertise in that local market. So what the winning competitors show, case studies with before and after photos. I still don't necessarily love the before photos. My philosophy hasn't changed on that. Neighborhood specific project proof. This is where you can, off of that content cluster, you can have neighborhood pages that then have specific projects within neighborhoods that can help Google to see that depth without just content for the sake of content. Hey, we did this project, we did. And then when you start to do stuff like that, then you can run like press releases to that, which some people hate press releases. Some people like a press release. If it's used correctly, it's good. If it's used as a source of backlinks and that's how people are, selling, you're going to get this many backlinks. I'm just going to go pay for this press release. Well, no. If there's something worth pushing out there, if you've done something and it's like, hey, we can push a press release to that, that's where that makes sense. Verifiable first person experience, unique local market data, process walkthroughs, and the how. So this is another, a lot of the video that we like. It's like go on site with your phone, walk through a project, tell the testimonial, even if that person isn't in the video. You can, hey, this is the situation that this person was in. This house was like this, da, 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 and you can roll the marketing language and copywriting into all of that. But having that on the different entities is going to help with shifting from just the what and not having the how. Does that make sense? So the third point, the temporal drift, the silent decay. Some of the blogs appear to be batch posts, not updating frequently, no consistent project or activity feed to signal operational vitality. This niche is unique. I forget the words that is used in this report, but there's two classifications of companies in Google's minds when we're looking at these types of businesses. One that's like an emergency response. Like think about like a plumber, right? A plumber has to speak to both. I have a pipe burst, I can get there 24/7. I can be out there within an hour, whatever. And then proof that they actually do that kind of work. It's not just saying that you do that kind of work, it's actually proving that you do that kind of work.
Yeah.
And then the other is, hey, I want to build a house, right? A little more research, not as time sensitive. Two different distinctions. So how that applies to real estate investing, sell my house fast. We know that there's a variation of different people within that. There's somebody that is going into foreclosure in 3 weeks and needs to sell their house to get out of foreclosure. And then there's a person that is moving out of state for work. The person that's moving out of state for work doesn't need the right now immediate response. They have a little more time. They have, some leeway. So we want to create content that speaks to both of those. Does that make sense? So again, that's just kind of getting more into the micro of that, and how you can take that, implement it into a strategy, and see that you're then hitting both and not just fixated on, hey, I know this works, I'm just going to run this, when this over here is going to help your website rank for more types of people, if that makes sense. All right, the fourth, the geographic ghosting, expansion claims without proof. I don't think we need to get too deep into this because this is already kind of where you're shifting back to, and
The whole name thing is where, like, we'll be, the North Augusta, South Augusta, we'll be focusing on the North Augusta, South Carolina market a lot. And then, of course, wanted to spread out a teeny bit, like into the whole CSRA and Augusta. But like, yeah, that's kind of the whole name thing there. And eventually, once it gets good enough at it, I need to start buying some of the other ones too. But like, I already own AugustaHouseGuys.com as well. So I'll be able to do one for a South Carolina side, one for Georgia side, things of that sort. I've even thought about buying like the other small cities around here as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, staying more hyper localized is already in the works of what I want to do.
Yeah, perfect. So we don't need to dive into that because that will just be telling you what you already know.
That's
Um,
kind of, and I've felt that way for a while. Just it took forever for me to actually, pull the
Yeah.
trigger, just because we have much more other lower hanging fruit that we were taking care of first, and that's kind of where I've gotten to on the SEO stuff. Anyways, like I'm probably about to like I kept that guy on just to because he already knew the site enough that he could, publish the new site and get it up and running.
Mhm.
But I'm kind of already at the point where like I'm probably going to cut SEO from them, and I'm going to either not do it, period, and just literally have the site just so credibility still, so like people can search and like we meet somebody at a house, we can still give them a website that they can visit and know that we're a real company and that we're local. Um, it's I don't want to dive more into SEO until I am ready to take that on. Like I'm ready to go deep in that, give case studies, do videos here in the local market.
Yeah.
To me it seems stupid for me to be like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like it needs to
Yeah.
either be I don't do it or I do it all the way.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. There's not a there's not a pitch coming on this call. So I'm gonna give you this, and if you want to talk about reworking with us again, I'll let you. I'm not gonna nag you. I'm not gonna pester you. So I usually start these calls with saying, "Hey, there's not a pitch coming," but
Yeah.
I forgot to say that with you. Um, but yeah, so don't feel like this is yeah, don't feel like that's where this is headed. Obviously, would I love to work with you again? I would. Do I love the market? I do. Do I wish I would have known some of what I know now then? For sure. Uh, I'm trying to show you where the strategy has moved, and again, not doing this to sign you up unless that's what you want.
Yep.
All right. So trust, popularity, asymmetry, offsite footprint. You have positive reviews with like Google, the GBP, BBB accreditation, own websites presence. What caps the ceiling? Press releases, commodity sponsorship citation, or community sponsorship citations. So like the local BBB, that's a link that we do like and carries a lot of value. Broader business press coverage. The way that we get that is like, and this is where it's not an easy thing to get. Like it does require some time. Um, One of our best clients for the last, he's been with us for almost 3 years, listens to this one. He goes and does podcasts with real estate investing podcasts, and then they'll link to your site, which that's how we get that niche specific press coverage, because it's like you know CBS is gonna just keep sending you stuff, right? Like that's not feasible. But you can get some press releases, and then that broader, if you get on and do a podcast or two a month, you can get those links, and then we can put those on the site. And it does help with some of the CRO as well. It builds some credibility. And then this one could be because you started a new brand and it could have been getting confused. So I'm not entirely certain on this one, but unstructured citation footprint, I have a hard time believing that this is actually true. But that's I wouldn't put too much weight on this one. Now I would say the citations that are out there for the old need to be cleaned up to the new. And you do want those citations. You want the name, address, phone number. You want the business hours. You want all that like tedious, monotonous, those details to be lined up. As we get more into multi-entity, the messier that is, the messier Google's going to look at your site and be like, what are you doing? Like, your GBP says your hours are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and your website says you're 24/7. So that gets into what we were talking about a second ago. Are you your pipe bursts at the end of the, in the middle of the night and I'll get out there, emergency services 24/7, or are you the plumber that's going to just do the 9 to 5 stuff? Not saying one is right and one is wrong, just saying it needs to be cleaned up um, to all match. So what happened, many similar pages created for Sell My House, Fast Food by Houses, all targeting the same intent, near duplicate case study, nest case studies, no unique proof. Again, this isn't saying that like every single location page has to have 100% unique copy. We still use a lot of the same copy, but on those at the bottom of the location pages, what we do now is we tie them to local landmarks in that community. So we can actually get a link to these Google GBP. And then through the backend, we can do some SEO trickery to get Google to read different things without stuffing that keyword, but we're getting it to talk back and forth. Then you throw things like local, like neighborhood specific case studies or updates, little excerpts on like, hey, this is what's going on in this company. Like if it's a military, if that specific neighborhood is a military, like having an excerpt on more stuff specifically focused to military that you wouldn't have on the homepage necessarily. Just an example, not saying that applies here, but that's what came to mind to show that point. So again, clusters, single pages that flush out. The eat stuff is just getting bigger and bigger. Local code, plus Augusta market data. So just fitting in some of that like local language, like and how that looks. It's different in every market. It's different in every state. So you kind of got to figure out what that looks like in Georgia, and there may or may not be overlap into North Carolina. It's just, especially with all these states changing everything all the time, like you got to make sure all that lines up with the state and city that you're working in, and then shifting from the sales brochure to the expert resource. So this is kind of that restoration plan here. Consolidate and refocus, build proof aspects, expand external trust. So this is something that you can do even if you like pause your SEO efforts for the moment. One thing that I would do is I would get some case studies up there and I would start being intentional about shooting videos where you can then shoot the video, put it, and then you have, in 6 months you come back and it's like, hey, I want to push on SEO again. And then it's like, I've got 130, 60-second walkthrough videos talking about different situations that then can be used as an asset to help rank. So you can be doing stuff even if you're not doing stuff that doesn't feel like you're doing anything extra. You don't have to overthink the walkthrough videos, just 30, 90, 5-minute video, 30-second, 90-second, 5-minute videos of different situations. You can go from there. We have hit on this pretty extensively. And then again, we've hit on this pretty extensively. So just kind of some rationalizations on the change. Most people are just going to say, hey, change a couple things, delete a couple things, and we're kind of speaking to some different, deeper fixes versus just change an H tag or whatever.
Yeah.
Again, this is kind of more summary of what we've been talking about here. So, I want to send, well, I want to ask, do you want that? Do you want the deeper information? Do you not care? If you want it, I'll send it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to look into it more. I mean, that's how I've been feeling for quite a while now. I mean, like I said, literally the only reason I've even kept it the last few months is just to get the new branding set up. And I knew he already felt bad basically about the way the whole last year went, and especially after like July of last year. So he basically like he's doing the extra work of getting the new site up and all that stuff just for his normal monthly rate. So that's why I've kept him for the moment. Um, but I mean, I've been feeling that way for 6+ months. That like, you know, what's going to matter is doing those, video things, like really deeper, like studies of what we do, and it does suck that I haven't already documented a lot of that because I mean, we we are. I truly believe we are the best solution for a lot of these people, and as far as compared to other investors and wholesalers around here. But then I'm also like I love the thought of doing those kind of deeper things because I also am a big believer of telling people their best options. And as far as us compared to other options that a person has, I don't think we are the right answer for 99% of people because we
Right.
aren't. I mean, if you have the time, you have some money to put into some work on the house and all these kinds of things, like you have these other options. So, and that's, and we do a lot of business. We do more business than most people around here. I mean, we're flipping dozens of houses a year. I mean, we closed on 55 last year. And it's just like, for this market, that's a lot.
Mhm.
Just continuing to show that proof and just showing that is kind of the way that my mind has been working on it recently anyways. And I know that's a big step we need to be taking.
Yeah. Um, I'll get a little pitchy now just to throw out how that doesn't have to be as daunting as it sounds. Um, I've always tried to build this business how I want it built from the other side of the table. So we try to pick up as much slack in some of these areas as possible. So one of the ways that we do that is when we onboard someone now, we have questions and it's like I'll sit there and well, I prefer when somebody does it on their own, but not everyone will, where it's like, hey, get on a Loom or record a Zoom and just like talk through all these scenarios, all these situations, and just dump for like 20, 30, 60 minutes, like however long you can go. And then I can use AI to take all of that and then we incorporate that into content and we can pull out, case studies and different things like that to help create some of that stuff. We also are working on more templatized like lead magnets and case studies where it's like, hey, we have this flow where you don't have to sit there and like create all of it, where you can take your experience, complete content, complete unique content to you. And then we implement that into those case studies and those lead magnets and things like that. Now it's not just saying it's copy paste, right? Because we if you don't do one thing and someone else does another, I don't want this over here. So we do build that out specifically to what that person is doing. So if you do decide like, hey, I know you spend a lot of money and a lot of time on SEO. It's like, I do want this. I don't want to do all the work. We have systems in place that can make a lot of that work simple on your end. And then we do some of the heavier lifting and then we can put those assets up that will accomplish what we're trying to. Yeah, and that's the end of the pitchiness. I'm just trying to do as much as I can to add as much value to people without being like, "Hey, do this." It's like,
Mhm.
well, that's simple for you, but to me, it's like right now, like video creation. it's simple for some people. Like for me to create marketing videos, I can't just talk to a computer. I have to have someone on the other side, and then I can talk. So like the trick that we found that works for me is if my wife holds the phone, I'll just yap and yap and yap and yap and yap. And then we can use AI and go find gold and spit out when Zach's just yapping about something. But I tried for years to sit behind a computer in an empty room talking to a wall, and I'm like, I can't do it. Um, so it's like little tricks like that. So know thyself. If you can just yap, have the phone. If you need your business partner, are you married?
Not.
Okay. Like a buddy or whoever it is, but that's a little trick that you can use. Gene, dude, I appreciate your time. I love this conversation. I love to hear that you're growing in your faith.
It's been amazing. It's been I talked to my dad the other day. It's like even if nothing else came out of it, it's been the best thing of my